So have you had a little delivery?
Yes, we had a really lovely delivery this morning. I had some beautiful flowers and a cake, and people that know me well know I love chocolate cake. So, to celebrate our 11th birthday, Nuriss Clinic is 11 years old. And actually, you know how Facebook flashes up memories when you've forgotten about them? It came up yesterday morning that today's our 11th year
That's crazy.
anniversary. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Obviously, we were meant to be celebrating in the clinic, but transportation issues in London have prevented that. But I just genuinely, because I've been with you guys, what, about 5 years now. So we've celebrated Decree's birthday, but on the Nurice side, what has the last 11 years looked like? How did you get started? And also, I bet you've seen so much change in treatments and everything that people are having, like sort of then versus now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whole whirlwind, 11 years. I would say anyone that runs a business, and I didn't know this when I'd set up my first business, it is a roller coaster. So the highs, we found our location. It was actually derelict, the space on Wimpole Street. We invested a lot in making it really beautiful. We hired a team and then we kind of launched, and it was really busy quite quickly. At the time, I was doing some TV on TV work with ITV, so I think that really helped grow the
Yeah.
visibility of the clinic quite early. And I also became a key opinion leader for some of the manufacturers that make some of the devices like BTL. So they got me on the stage doing conferences, and I think it kind of allowed the brand Nuriss to grow quite quickly. I also launched Nuriss Skincare the same day as I launched the clinic, and that actually became the inspiration or Decree in the end. I had 32 products, which is very typical of your doctor-led brands, different products for men, for women, for different age groups and skin types. And the reason I created the skincare line is that in my dermatology clinics before Nuriss, we'd have up to 20 different brands on the shelf. And I always felt a little bit embarrassed as the doctor that I didn't have one brand that I could trust and tell my patients to use. So I really had no agenda with the skincare aspect of the business other than to create something that really worked for my patients that they could use before and after their treatments to get best results. And that kind of evolved into something bigger.
Yeah, which is amazing. And what made you start launch your own clinic in the first place? What was like the inspiration
So
there?
at the time, about a year before I launched the clinic, I kind of reached a bit of a crossroads in my career. I was kind of working 75% of my time in the NHS, and then doing some private work and then also some media work. So I kind of had three jobs.
Mm.
I wasn't really getting the satisfaction that I wanted out of either the NHS or the private work. So in the NHS, which I love working in the NHS and I still do, but it was very fast paced. When I was doing my general medicine clinics, everything was very separated. So, for example, if I had an acne patient who I felt needed to see an endocrinologist and a nutritionist, which they often do, that required two different referrals to get them the care that they needed, and then a long waiting list.
I
So
was
it was
going to say the
very,
time for that then would just be crazy.
and I'd have 10 minutes with my patients. I didn't have time to really thoroughly look after my patients in the way I wanted to. And then you'd think the other side of the coin would be much better. But I worked in a private clinic environment, which was very focused on money and making profit.
Mm.
And our clinical meetings were focused on targets, financial targets, not patient care. And
Yeah.
that really didn't sit well with me. I didn't study medicine to think about profits and how to, see patients most effectively and make more money. So I kind of really felt I want to create something that doesn't exist for my career and create a place where we can look after your skin health with everything under one roof. So we can do the endocrine and the hormone support, and we can have a nutritionist, and we can have the treatments that will help your skin to reach its kind of optimal health in one place. That kind of seamless transition between specialists. That's what I really wanted to create,
Mm.
and that's what inspired the Nuriss brand being created. Actually, the name's quite funny. I was doing an NHS clinic and I had a very rare DNA, which is what we call a patient that doesn't attend.
Yeah.
So I started Googling these before the days of AI, Googling um, ideas for a brand name. And I wanted something that was about feeding and nourishing the skin with good nutrition and good skincare. And after lots of like searching through thesauruses for different names, I came up with Nuriss, which is the Anglo-French for nourish.
Yeah.
Nuriss was one of the derivatives of that. So I thought, oh, there you go. And but when I tell marketing branding experts how I came up with the name, they're mortified.
No, it's actually really interesting. I can't believe we've never had that conversation before because yeah, it's obviously such a sort of unique name. What is the main difference that you've seen then, like in treatments and the way, because that was really lovely to hear because I think we focus so much on sort of new treatments and trending treatments that like we actually kind of people don't necessarily not don't realize, but you have always been that holistic kind of approach that's like really trendy now.
Yeah. I mean, I was trendy before it was
Before
trendy.
you even knew it.
And I think that came about because I had slightly an unusual kind of medical career in the sense that when I was training, they had an older system where you could train in multiple specialisms at once, whereas modern doctors now are kind of fast tracked into being surgeons or dermatologists, and you don't have the broad training. So I was very lucky, and I did surgical training and vascular surgery and A&E and intensive care, and I learned loads of things. But part of that gave me a really broad medical knowledge about hormones and gut health and endocrine health and mental health, and alongside my dermatology training, both at medical school and my postgraduate training, that gave me a really broad skill set, which is quite unusual today because the doctors don't get the time to do that length of training, which meant I had the skill to always integrate general medicine and systemic treatments alongside my skin treatments. And that wasn't really done when I launched 11 years ago. It is now, which is great,
Yeah.
but we've been doing it for a long time. I definitely think, I first started in the aesthetic industry about 20 years ago, because alongside my NHS work, I got a job working for a private dermatology clinic. And my job was mainly for mole checks. But they made all the doctors train in aesthetics. And initially, I remember being quite mortified, converting to the dark side and starting to inject things into people. And it wasn't really an interest of mine at the time. Then I started to really enjoy it. And I saw, actually, this is great. This is really artistic. I am very artistic with faces. And I loved seeing how happy it made patients to have that aesthetic element to their dermatology care. But actually, in our clinics, the aesthetic clinics, we only really had Botox and filler.
Yeah.
That was our bread and butter treatment. If you wanted to look younger, we'd use one or the other or both. But we didn't really have the modalities that we have now. And fast forward 10 years, it's completely different. Mm-hmm. I mean, we really now at Nuriss Clinic focus on regenerative medicine. We use things that will help your skin to repair and remodel and slow down the aging process in your skin by just kind of kickstarting your own natural skin resources. So this bio-stimulator, regenerative medicine category, longevity medicine is really the movement. And that really fits in line with what my interests are as well. So I'm glad it's moving in that direction. Yeah. I still have a place for Botox and filler with my patients, but I tend to use it as a finishing touch or a first step whilst we're doing the long-term stuff to give people their confidence.
Yeah, and whenever I'm with Dr. Natalie, I'm always just like looking at her face and I'm just like, what do you do? Because she's the same where she actually stands by Botox and filler because I think it's just got such a bad rep with some of the horror stories you've seen, which thank God they're now changing the laws towards. But yeah, like she also says to me all the time whenever I'm with her, like she swears by just a little bit here and there just for maintenance rather than just like jumping in and sort of filling your face with it. And
a good example, the other day I did mainly kind of biostimulatory and regenerative treatments. I did a course of polynucleotides under the eyes for a patient, along the jawline. I also used some Structura to create a nice lift here. And then I used a tiny bit of filler to inject into a space called the deep medial fat compartment in the cheek. So we used 1 ml of filler divided between 2 zones. So it's such a small amount. Another really big thing is looking at your skin DNA. So there are kind of, we look at about 84 different markers by doing DNA analysis to see where your risk factors are for skin aging. So this is potentially something that's better for the younger patient in their 20s and 30s to know, okay, do you have an enzyme that's going to break down your collagen faster than the average person? Or Do you have issues with your melanocyte and your melanin production pathways, which mean you have a high risk of skin cancer? We can look at those factors and then intervene early with certain ingredients in your skincare or treatments in clinic to really help to address those things. So that preventative approach is much more kind of modern. And then a big thing in this industry are peptides. Peptides are like your building blocks for protein. So, for example, we've got amino acid peptides that build collagen. We've got peptides all over our body, but we use them in medicine in certain ways already. So, for example, the weight loss medications, they're peptides. So, Mounjaro is a GLP-1 agonist and a GIP agonist, which is the peptides. So they're kind of bio signals that kind of stimulate and switch on organs or switch things off. That's going to be really big, I think, not just in skin, but also in general kind of medicine and health. The idea is that you can find a peptide that helps to slow down collagen breakdown or boost rapid collagen formation, and you can inject it or swallow a tablet or inhale a peptide. These are all methods that you can deliver them into the body, and they will act as signalers to help program new tissue formation or slow down inflammation. It's still very experimental. Globally, there's no FDA approval for the use of peptides in this way, but we do use peptides, of course, in skincare and have done for a long time. And we have them in our peptide emollient veil, kind of signaling, firming peptides that will help to kind of support barrier health and collagen function. We use collagen peptides in supplements to help stimulate collagen repair within the skin. So that's just going to become a bigger thing. In 10 years' time, if we redo this video, I expect we'll be talking about peptides.
So in absolute layman terms, what are peptides then that they can be so involved in such a widespread?
So our whole body is made up of we have peptides for about 3,000 plus processes within the body. They are little building blocks that when joined together can form a protein, and proteins make up everything in our skin, our organs. So we can take a peptide that's finely tuned to switch on healing reparative processes in the body. I mentioned the in the Mounjaro case, that contains two peptides called GIP and GLP-1 agonists. And what these do is they mimic your own natural hormone production. So they help to boost your insulin production from your pancreas, and they help to suppress your glucagon production, which in turn kind of works in a way to lower your glucose levels in the body, stop glucose being turned into fat, and helps to reduce satiety, so the hunger, slows down the emptying of your stomach when you eat your food, so therefore you feel fuller for longer. So these are clever peptides that can signal and replace your own natural signals.
That's really...
Of course, there are some risks. And actually, one thing that I've been having to tell a few of my patients of, there are some peptides that can give you a tan. So some people are injecting melanin stimulating peptides so that they have a more impressive tan. And they are injecting them or swallowing a tablet. Now, one of the risks of this peptide tells your melanocytes, which are your cells that produce brown pigment, to make more brown pigment. But the risks are if you're overstimulating your melanin production, and remember, melanin is something that's produced when your skin is being damaged by inflammation or UV rays. So you're creating this overstimulation of your melanin producing cells. And the worry is, and there has been evidence that this is already happening, we're going to see an increased risk of melanomas, which is obviously the deadliest form of skin cancer. So this is what I mean. It's not a done deal yet. Peptides are still experimental. There are pros and cons of using them, even the ones that are now available on the market, like for the weight loss treatments that I've mentioned. So you've got to be really careful and just don't experiment with them without speaking to a doctor who knows how to use them safely.
And I think this comes back to what one of the biggest issues is nowadays within aesthetics, is how there's so many things that are coming on the market, and people seem to be so quick to jump into trying all these things, and they're going to like local, like I wouldn't even say practitioners, but yeah, they're just having things done locally or going for like the best offer. And I've always felt from working in this industry that people just don't seem to be concerned with actually what the long-term effects of these things could be.
It really worries me, and a lot of my patients are really sensible men and women, and they tell me horror stories. They've let their eyelash technician do threadless in their home. I mean, we can't even do threadless in my clinic in London because we haven't got a surgical room. It has to be done in a surgical setting. Plus, they're terrible anyway, so I wouldn't want to do
Yeah,
them for
yeah,
patients. But this is, and she had complications, and I've spent a year managing those with her. And this
yeah.
is somebody who's a CEO, runs her own company, but she trusted her lash technician and didn't think about the consequences. So, I mean, I'm hoping now the awareness of, you know, mandates being pushed through Parliament to try and introduce legislation to protect the public against injectors who are non-medical. It's still a bit fluffy in the UK, but I think over the next few years we'll see it really, really tighten up, and you'll see that the quality of the practitioners should improve as well.
Exactly. And it's also the products that are used. Like I see some offers where obviously working with the clinic, we know the costs of things that go into this. And I see some offers where I'm like, how are you even, that's
Yeah.
not even
I
costing
mean,
the
there
cost.
are thousands of brands of dermal filler, for
Yeah.
example. I think only about 23 are approved for use, just
Yeah.
from a safety point of view. So what's happening with those other brands? Where are they being injected? And then you see like Botox, £50 an area. But you know, if you're ordering a good quality neurotoxin from a reputable manufacturer or pharmacy, we know that you're spending at least 3 times that just to get the raw material, the
Yeah.
like one small vial. So
Yeah.
if they're charging you £50, something doesn't add up.
Exactly. And even just down on the high street where I live, one of these clinics is doing like 3 areas for £160 or something. And I think, again, that's one thing people don't realize. They'll see a sort of high standard of a clinic and think that the price is that level because of the practitioners, where it's actually not. That's obviously you're paying for the experience, but it's also the product that people don't think that, as you say, there's
Well,
so many.
and there
It's
have been some kind of scary stories of kind of Botox poisoning in the UK where people have
yeah.
had, you know, generalized neurological issues from illegal toxin being injected into their faces.
So, on the back of that, can people research what products are best and what products they might like? Because, for instance, with what we call Botox, I know there's one coming onto the market that hopefully it's not proven yet, but might have longer lasting effects and things. So you can research your products, and then could they go to their practitioner or find their clinic based on that product? Would they be able
Yeah.
to go in and say, what are your
I mean,
products?
there were a few brands in the UK, actually globally, that are used by you know, the top
Yeah.
practitioners. And you know, in terms of the brand you just mentioned, that's been produced by a company called Galderma, who are the OG of the aesthetic
Yeah.
industry. They created the original Restylane range, which I actually started off my career using
Oh,
20 years ago. And they've spent 15 years developing this product.
yeah.
The money and the testing and the safety data that's had to go into this product to bring it to market,
Yeah.
years of testing and development to get it absolutely perfect, plus trials all over the world. As a doctor, you're able to see those papers, you're able to go along to training and learn about the manufacturing process. And we've actually brought it into the clinic already. It's called Relfades. And it's the first vegan wrinkle relaxing injection. So
I
it's
didn't know it
derived
was
from
vegan.
soil, whereas the other Botox is derived from the rooster. So
Oh,
it's vegan Botox and it's readily made, so you don't need to dilute it. Normally, when you go to a clinic, you'll see your practitioner diluting it and then injecting it. And that dilution process relies on the expertise of the practitioner to work out how much to dilute it with, to make sure it's being diluted correctly and used quickly and not put in the fridge for 2 weeks and then used or reused for patients days later, because all of those steps can reduce the quality, the safety, and the efficacy. So these are all things, you know, when you're choosing a practitioner, you're not just choosing the brand, you're choosing the whole journey. What do they do to assess whether it's suitable for me? What do they do to assess how much they use and what it's mixed up with and how it's injected? Will they follow me up and look after me if
yeah.
there are any complications? Will they bring me back after 2 weeks and adjust my dose so it's perfect? Will they be there in between each dose to help me look after my skin? These are all things that you're getting with that experience, and that is often reflected in the fee you pay as well.
Yeah, and as I said, like I think that's so valuable to hear, because people, I mean, you've just said things I didn't even realize. And as I say, I've been working with you for 5, 6 years now, so yeah, it's super interesting. There is one more question I could talk to you all day, Anita. That's why I was like, I've actually been really excited about this because
Not
it's
all day, so
no, it's a nice break from like the usual slog. So obviously you've celebrated 11 years at Nuriss, and we will be looking into like what we feel the 2026 trends are. But I know you will have a lot of ideas in your head as to what you think the next 11 years into the future will look like. So like obviously this is not set in stone. This is just your thoughts from what you're seeing, but where do you think, say, in the next decade, we will be at with aesthetics?
I think you'll find aesthetics continues to move in the trajectory of looking at longevity medicine. So things that help promote the lifespan and the health span of your body and your skin. And essentially that's looking at several things: treatments and products that will be designed to slow down cellular aging, which we call senescence; treatments that will reduce inflammation and support regeneration within the skin. And you'll see the continued use of exosomes and stem cells and polynucleotides, things that act as signalers to switch on the good stuff, the healing, repair, the collagen production, and switch off the bad stuff, the inflammation and the cellular aging. I think we'll have a stronger focus on treating skin with a systemic approach. So we'll have a lot more focus on internal health, injecting peptides and using certain nutrients intravenously to kind of slow that aging process down. So that I think that's going to be the movement over the next 10 years. In terms of the skincare side, I think people are wanting simpler solutions. We talk about skin minimalism. We talk about boundary neutral skincare that is suitable for men and women and all ages and all skin types. People want simplicity. They want clinical, and they want brands they can trust that will look after their skin and give the skin everything it needs. I think we'll be moving away from those big ranges with multiple categories and really stripped down regimes that are much more kind of universal in the way they work.
Yeah, exactly. That's super interesting. And congratulations again on your 11th birthday at Nuri.
Thank you. Let's hope we have another strong 11 years. Excited to see where we are with the business at that point as well. Or hopefully I'm retired and lying on a beach by then.
Exactly. Looking very youthful with all these
Yes,
advanced
really
things.
100.